What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Dialed Podcast. This is actually going to be episode 7. Time flies when we're having fun. In this episode, we're going to be talking and diving into current myths in the fitness industry, debunking them, saying which are myths and which are real, I guess. I'm your host, Nick McElhenney. This is my co-host, Anthony Beretta. Ant, say hi.
What's up, fam? How we doing today?
What up, what up, what up?
What up, what
All
up,
right,
what
man.
up?
So let's dive right into it. So we've got a giant list of a bunch of different myths here, and we're just gonna essentially yap on each one. So myth number one, and I'll let you start this out: the anabolic window. You want to explain what the anabolic window is first for people that don't know?
Yeah, so essentially what a lot of people think is basically from the get-go, it comes with the name, right? So like there's a window, right? And most people think after a workout, there's like a 30-minute window where you need to get in some form of protein, whether it's hydrolyzed protein powder or whole food protein powder, or not whole food protein powder, whole foods. A lot of people think that there's this like magical window, and if I don't get my protein within that 30-minute window, I won't be making the necessary gains for the rest of the day, right? Like basically the workout just went to waste. When in reality, that's not the case, as we all probably know. So yeah, it's like a 30-minute window that most people think, oh, I need protein within this window. If not, basically the gains are going to be gone to waste here. But that is actually false. It's just going down to the total daily amount of protein that you need throughout the day in order to, get muscle protein synthesis going. But it's always good to have like 2 to 3 windows of, or 2 to 3 hours of protein consumption in order to continuously just have muscle protein synthesis just like continuously occurring throughout your day. So yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, obviously, I think you're spot on. I think that, yeah, so that's what the anabolic window is. I think the way that you explained it was beautiful, and I completely agree with you. I would just say, I think a lot of people put emphasis on protein, whereas protein is important. But if we're going to put an anabolic window on anything, I think it should be carbs.
Hmm.
I think that because when you're working out, like you're using a ton of energy, right? You're expending a lot of glycogen, and so when you have carbs post workout, you need to replenish those stores, and
Hmm.
that's exactly what's going on. So
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, it comes down to meal timing, comes down to carbohydrate timing, protein timing, everything. Like I always like to spread out my meals evenly throughout the day and then have a main focus of carbohydrates with my pre and post workout just to fuel myself and then to give myself enough to recover post workout. So that's technically how I feel like it should be. I know like there's a bunch of things about fasting and stuff like that, but like honestly, from what I've seen from coaching hundreds of people, it's like this is what works and this is what's beneficial for you because it's like sustainable energy throughout the day. Usually, when a lot of people do fasting or the keto diet, you crash, can't work out, and you just feel like crap the entire time. So, exactly to your point, it's like comes down to not only meal timing, but like what's actually in those meals and when are you putting it throughout the day.
yeah, and I kind of diving into like fasting a little bit longer. I'm not actively against fasting, but just like you said, way we do things works. But the one time that I've kind of implemented fasting, especially in prep, I'm curious to see your thoughts on this. But every now and then, especially when I'm like balls deep in prep and I'm super hungry and my food is super duper duper low, I would typically push back my first meal a little bit because not I think, but when you have that first meal and you break your fast, hence the word breakfast, when you break your fast first thing in the morning, that's really when hunger starts to spike a lot. That's when it ramps up, gets kicked up a notch. But I found it easier for in the morning when you are still fasted. If I delayed that first meal for an extra hour or two till the hunger is really getting to me, then that way having my first meal later in the day, technically fasting for a little bit longer in the day, and then
Yeah.
I can push my meals maybe a little bit closer together instead of like 3 hours apart, having them like 2.5 hours apart. And that way I'm staying fuller for a little bit longer, especially when you're on the tail end of prep and your energy is super duper duper low. I don't know, that's something that helped me. I was curious
Yeah.
to see what you thought about that.
No, I'm 110% on board. I was doing the same exact thing, which was essentially pushing my meals like longer throughout the day. So I wouldn't even start my first meal sometimes until like 11 o'clock. And it's mainly because like during a fast, your body will actually rely on the store energy more rather than causing like a bunch of like blood sugar peaks and then, an insulin drop that can trigger these cravings and these ghrelin spikes. So like pushing these meals out more and more can actually help you in the long run because it's like, hey, I'm not hungry. You don't have to eat right now, right? Of course, like starting your day off right with a nice balanced breakfast is great, but like I think utilizing a fast during prep is like super smart.
I think fasting becomes a problem when people just end up like malnourishing themselves and not
Yeah,
eating enough food, which I think is actually very common. They just think of fasting as starving themselves, which isn't necessarily the case, right? Fasting is just prolonging, like not eating if you don't like you're still eating the same amount of food, but in a smaller window, essentially.
right. Exactly. Yeah. I saw this one video today of this guy who he does a fast up until 12. He only eats one meal a day. It's like the one meal a day diet. And I saw the meal and it was like 150 gram. Well, no, it was like 250 grams of egg whites, two eggs, some potatoes, and some veggies. And it was like, okay, like there's like it's probably like 30 grams protein in that meal, some carbs, a little bit of fats, but it's like you're just malnourishing yourself, like exactly what you said, you're malnourishing yourself up
Yeah.
until, like, the next day because he eats at 12 PM every single day, just one meal, and it's like, you're starving it like, how are your workouts? How are you going to have enough energy for your workouts, and never mind, like, recover from the workouts? Like, I just talked to one of my clients who came to me because he did a keto diet before, and we were just talking because he was like, "Dude, I have so much more energy now," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's because you're not doing this keto diet." He's like, "Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't
you're
even
eating
work out."
carbs.
He's like, "Dude, I couldn't even walk around." He's like, "Mowing the grass was hard." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what happens when you're on these diets. You're not providing your body the nutrients it needs."
Yeah, exactly. And like I like to think of dieting essentially like one analogy that I like to use, or I guess story that I like to tell people is would a caveman eat that? I mean, I guess carb wise, if we go to like a carnivore style diet, yeah. But like for example, like a keto diet did not exist in caveman times. Right? So just
Yeah.
like I think that when you take that turn and you kind of like override where your body should naturally go, if that makes sense, that's those are genuinely the things you kind of need to steer away from, in my personal opinion.
100%. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, some of the diets work, but not in the way that you think, right? Like, you will drop weight on a keto diet, but it's not what you think. One, most likely going to be muscle, especially if you're not consuming enough protein. Two, it's going to be a lot of stored glycogen in your system. And then three, it's going to be a lot of water weight too. So, like, you're just malnourishing your whole body. You're seeing results on the scale, but it's not the results that you think. It's not going to be fat just like, overnight. It's going to be a lot of, stored glycogen, like I said, a lot of water. It's not going to be healthy, especially in the long run. It's like if you have a cheeseburger, you're just restoring your body of the glycogen that you have. And like it takes days to deplete your body of that stored glycogen. So it's like you're just restarting the cycle all over again if you do decide to have some form of carbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then just kinda, like, tagging onto that, I guess, on the cheeseburger thing, right? Say that you've been dieting and you give yourself a cheat meal and you go eat a fat, juicy cheeseburger, right? And then you weigh in the next morning and you're up like 3 pounds and you're freaking 3, 4, maybe 5 pounds, right? And you're freaking out because 'cause you're like, "Fuck, man, it was one night, man.
Yeah.
I promise it didn't mean anything." And you're like, "Wow, I gained like 5 pounds of fat from this one cheeseburger." No, that's not kinda going into what you said on the
Yeah.
reverse end, like, you're replenishing your glycogen, right? You're having a high sodium meal. Your body is gonna be retaining a lot of water. That's not fat, bro. It's not 5 pounds of fat. That's water. That's water retention, right? Or inflammation from high inflammatory foods, like, it's not yeah, I think that's a very common misconception that a lot of people should understand a little bit more.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I do have my clients weigh in every single day. But it's like, I don't want you to look at the scale as the enemy. Just look at it as honestly just like a friend, right? Like you're saying hi to him every single morning. The only reason why I do daily like weigh-ins is to essentially like make sure that one, I'm taking the actual average throughout the week and kind of determining where we go from there. And then two, it's like say every single, and I've seen this plenty of times before, every single Sunday to Monday, it's like your weight spikes. I got to find out the reason why so we can get down to the bottom of it and fix it. Usually it's like, oh, I'm starting the work week out. I'm going back to my 9 to 5. So work's starting up again. So it's usually like something to do with that. But never look at the scale and be like, oh, I gained 10 pounds of fat in one day. It's like, no, Nope, doesn't work
Always,
like that.
always, always, always go by the average weight, like the weekly average. Take your total. Like if you're going to track your weight, track it one, make sure you're tracking it first thing in the morning when you fasted. Go to the bathroom if you have to, but no food, no water. That's going to give you the most accurate weight for your day. And then compare, then write all those down or track them in a sheet, whatever you do. But track all of those fasted weights 7 days a week and then take the average of all of those weights. And that is what I would refer to as like your true weight, right? So if you're going to make
Mhm.
any adjustments on anything, wait until you have a 7 day average, right? And then play the adjustment off there, right? So when we're coaching, me and Amp, what we do is we track that 7 day average. And once a week, we have a client check in. And then when they submit a check in, we're looking at the 7 day average, how the previous week went. And on that check in day, that is when we make adjustments, right? We don't make adjustments when you eat a cheeseburger and you're 5 pounds up, right? It's calculated and we're going accurately off of your true weight and we're pulling when we need to, not out of fear or panic.
Yeah, it is really funny when someone's like, "Why aren't you, like, scared?" Or, like, it's like, "Why aren't you, like, giving me an insane amount of cardio?" Or, "Why aren't you doing this, like, pulling all my food?" It's like, "It'll even out, just give it a day. Give it,
It's
like,
just
2
water,
days.
bro. Yeah.
You're fine. Yeah, just don't do it
Yeah.
again."
Yeah. I literally had somebody check in with me today. And for whatever reason, he thought it would be a really good idea yesterday to do, I don't know where the extra motivation came from, but he just decided to jump on the assault bike and go crazy and then do like 100 burpees right after. And his weight was up like, this is not my idea, by the way, not a prep plan or anything, just a lifestyle. And his weight was up, what, a pound, probably, I think about a pound today.
Yeah,
And he was like, dude, I don't get it. Like, I did all this shit and like, my weight is up today. Like, what's going on? Like, I thought it was supposed to be going in the other direction. And I was like,
yep,
we don't have any cardio plugged in right now. Granted, he just started with me, so we haven't plugged in cardio yet. I don't plug in cardio until we're a couple weeks in,
mhm,
so we can like establish a good baseline without cardio. But no cardio on the table, and I'm sure you know this, when you plug in cardio for the first time, your body's not used to it, right? Body
mhm,
gets a little bit more inflamed. So more than likely, whenever I have a client that plugs in cardio for the first time, so we plug in like the stairs 4 times a week after they've been doing no cardio, and then their weight comes back up the next week on average, a lot of them are like, what's going on? And initially, when I first started coaching, I was like, what the? But like at
yeah,
the end of the day, like it's just your body adapting to the extra stress from cardio. Like your body's a little bit more inflamed, and then you just give it an extra week and it flushes out. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened with the dude who did the ton of burpees and the assault bike. Like his body wasn't used to that at all. His body was just inflamed. And I was like, dude, don't trip about it. Like, give it a couple days. It's going to flush out. Your body's not used to doing that, and it's definitely not fat. You are clearly in a deficit. Just chill out. We're not going to make any changes this week, and you can
mhm.
just watch the weight fall back off.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, I drew up a because I use paint in my check-ins a lot of times just to, like,
That's
get
so
it. I'm a
smart.
visual kind of person, so I make, this tree, and it has the actual tree itself is cortisol, and I was explaining to one of my clients basically how many different roots cortisol has, right? It has physical, mental, and it all can, have a direct reflection of your scale weight, due to the water retention that you're actually getting from it, due to stress, hormonal regulation, water. I mean, like, there's just so many different factors that play a role into it. So that's why, exactly going back to your point, it's like, yeah, take the weekly average and then reassess. Don't go on a day to day basis. You're going to go insane if you do that.
Yeah, I think that's how people develop like an unhealthy relationship with the scale.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then also just to kind of tie everything together, you pretty much the way that we coach, for example, you take that 7 day average, you look at the weight. If the weight is up 2 pounds on average the next week, that's a sign that we probably, if you're trying to cut, that's a sign we probably need to cut things back down. But we're essentially, as our job as coaches, and if you are doing this just yourself without a coach, ideally you want to keep your weight in a range each week, right? So like if you're trying to put on size, like essentially like keeping it between like 0.25 to a pound a week, right? Like up a week if you're trying to bulk or if you're trying to cut, then we run into issues like, we don't want to get too aggressive, right? If you drop 5 pounds, 3 weeks, 5 pounds a week, 3 weeks in a row, more than likely you're pulling from muscle and we don't want
Hmm.
that, right? So different opposite ends of the spectrum. But when we're talking about locking in on like training, fitness, nutrition, that's exactly what we're talking about is nailing all these data points and not guessing about your body whatsoever, but tracking every single thing that comes in, every single thing you do that puts out, and how your body responds to it all.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Hit it right on the money, man. You wanna get into myth number 2?
Yeah, we just kind of went down a rabbit hole with that
I
one.
know, yeah, we did, so might have to be
What's
a
the
little
point though?
selective with our, myths here. You
Yeah.
pick the next one.
I got a big list here, man. I don't know.
I know.
We can hit on this one really quickly. Do you think protein damages your kidneys?
Depends on the level, but, like, for a majority of people, no. It's like, unless you're consuming, like, say, you're a 180-pound male, like, if you're consuming 400 plus grams of protein, it's like, alright, clearly, like, your kidneys are gonna go through hell, but it's like, for a majority of people, if you're having, like, I don't know, for reference range, like, 1.5 grams per pound of body weight, so you're 180 and you're having, like, I don't know, upwards of pushing close to almost 300 grams of protein, is like, yes, it's still gonna have an effect on it, but it won't get to a point where it will damage unless it's, like, excessive, right? It goes with anything, right? Anything in excess is not good for you, so just being within normal ranges is gonna be perfectly fine, right? You honestly, you don't need to have an absurd amount of protein in order to get gains. It's just like the bare minimum is 0.8 grams per pound of perpetuated body weight. Like, that's the bare minimum. So if you're having more than that, that's completely fine, but don't be excessive.
I also think that the type of person that's bringing this to an argument is the type of person who probably has like 30 grams of protein total in a day.
Right. Yeah, because they saw some random study like 20 years ago about a rat eating I don't know, some protein and it's like, "Oh yeah, the rat died." It's like, "Okay, well the rat was sick." It's like, I don't know. But yeah.
What about protein absorption? Like, there's a big myth saying like you can only absorb like 30 grams of protein per meal. What are your thoughts on?
No, it just it comes down to like the total daily consumption of protein. I mean, you could technically put it this way, you can technically have your total daily amount of protein in the morning, all of it, and you'll be completely okay. Is that optimal though? No, not anywhere near it. It's just going to take a lot longer to digest all of that protein. It's not going to go anywhere. It still has to digest. It's just going to take an absurdly long time to digest, and you're putting your body under more stressors, if anything.
Yeah, you're making your body work harder than it is, and that's typically why, like, I'll program, like, 5 to 6 meals for my guys, which most people are not used to, but 5 to 6 meals instead of, like, 2 to 3 meals, which the average person is eating, because the average person, say they're skipping breakfast, which talk to too many people to know that most people do that, and then they just end up cramming their calories into 2 meals, and they wonder why they're putting on weight even though they're only having 2 meals, because they think, "Wow, if I'm eating 5 meals a day, and I'm
Yeah.
getting fat off of 2 meals a day. Doesn't that mean I'll get even fatter?" But it's the opposite, right? If you're having smaller meals spread throughout the day, your digestion, your gut isn't having to work nearly as hard, right? Things move a lot smoother. Whereas if you are just cramming like, 2,000 calories in, or cramming like 4,000 calories into 2 meals, your body's going to have to work a lot harder than it really needs to digest and absorb all of those nutrients.
Yeah. Yeah. 110%. Yeah. I think, I mean, too, another thing to your point as well is like your body is going to get used to, believe it or not, your body will get used to you eating more meals throughout the day. Like, I don't know about you, but when I was eating 2 meals throughout the day, 3 meals throughout the day, like, I don't know, 8 years ago, thinking about doing 6 meals a day, I thought that was absurd. Like, I thought it was, like, unrealistic, unattainable. I was like, "Oh, my whole life has to, essentially revolve around my eating window now." And it's like, no, honestly, like, in reality, my body has gotten so used to it, like, having 2 or 3 meals throughout the day is, like, absurd on my means now. So it's like it's almost like flip the script. Even a lot of my lifestyle clients are like, "I'm hungrier now, like, I wanna eat more food throughout the day." It's like, yeah, it's because you're providing your body the nutrients it needs more throughout the day, and then, yeah, of course, your ghrelin's gonna go up, but, like, your body's gonna get used to it. So, this
Mhm.
may sound
Yeah.
weird, but your body will.
Yeah. No, definitely. Totally, totally agree. Any other common myths that you can think of like that people, because we're kinda
To
coming
do
up
with
with our own
protein
here.
or
Not necessarily protein, but just diet, nutrition, training, anything altogether?
diet, nutrition, training. Yeah, I mean, I think that getting rid of, like, one macronutrient, I think is, like, very apparent in today's society. It's like, "Oh, I gotta get rid of fats," because I know we talked about this, what, on, like, the first podcast? Like, because they name it fat, it's like, "Oh, fats aren't good for you." It's like, no, every single one of them has their own role to play in your
Not
system.
correlated at all.
It's not correlated at all.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I think, like, getting rid of one macronutrient is not smart. at
No,
all.
no,
You have to play it. You have to play it, right? It's a game, so you just gotta play it.
mhm. Just stick to the basics. If you ever think that something is just sounds a little silly, it probably is.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
Yeah, and one more thing too is just because something may work for someone else doesn't mean it's gonna work for you too. And also, a lot of people like to say what they did worked, but in reality, it wasn't beneficial for them. And I'll give you a prime example. I had one person tell me, "Hey, XYZ, like this person that I know, they tried this diet and they lost 20 pounds in like 2 weeks." And I'm like, that sounds great. Bring me through their day of eating. And it was like, it was absurd. It was like 2 meals throughout the day, just chicken and like salad bowls. And it's just like, okay, so they were eating like 800 calories and, just like starving themselves throughout the day. And I was like, did they work out? And they were like, no, they didn't. They actually never went to the gym. I was like, "Okay, why is that?" And they're like, "Oh, they didn't have enough energy for it." So, like, you start to, like, unpack things as you, like, dig deeper, you know what I mean? So, just because something may have worked for someone else does not mean it'll work for you and also be beneficial for you. Because you also have to think about the future, right? So, like, the reverse diet, you have to think of, like, building back up your calories. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, there's gonna get a point where if you just starve yourself right off the rip, you're gonna plateau and you're gonna feel like crap. That's not what getting a
Yep.
six pack's about.
And then you're cooked, right? You've burned all of your runway, and it's just
Mhm,
gonna be 20 times harder for you to break through that plateau because you burned all of it early.
mhm. Exactly. Yep.
So,
So, yeah,
yeah. Anyways, the
getting
next
heated, I
one
see it.
that I wanna talk about is, and I know that you have some words to say on this one, but myth number 4, or I don't even know what number we're at, fasted cardio burns more fat. So, I've always been under the assumption that the fasted cardio doesn't really provide a ton of benefit besides just convenience and, just overall, like, preference. Like, I enjoy doing fasted cardio just because I can start my day with movement. I can get it out of the way early. It doesn't have to come right after my lift and drag my time at the gym all the way up. That's why I enjoy it. But I know that you have some research that provides that says otherwise.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were previously talking about this before the podcast hit, and it was basically talking about acute fat oxidation, which is essentially like your body will essentially bypass it'll try to utilize the carbohydrates as its first fuel option. And if you don't have any carbs in your system, it's going to utilize the stored fat that you have in your system, right? So like the last meal that I have my clients usually eat throughout the day is just a fattier source of protein with a little bit of veggies, right? And it's basically to increase muscle protein synthesis overnight for up to like 4 to 6 hours. So I usually have that as like the last meal, barely any carbs in it, just like some fats. I usually throw in an egg too, but some fats and then some protein in it. Slow down digestion, make it minimal carb. They wake up, and then they, usually do like fasted cardio. And if you think about it, if your body doesn't have the carbs in it to utilize it for that cardio, where's the energy going to come from? Most likely the stored fat in your system. So that's why I've been utilizing it. And honestly, like, mixing that with maybe a little bit of yohimbine, once you get like deep into a cut, deep into prep, if you are on prep, like that's why I love utilizing that stuff. But, ultimately that's why I do utilize it. And it definitely, I feel like it does work. So
It's funny you bring that up because I was gonna bring that up if you didn't and tie Johanbine into all this. But do you wanna tell the people that don't know what it is, what it does, and the benefits of taking it, especially with fasted cardio?
yeah, yeah. So, essentially with yohimbine, it was just like heat up your body's internal temperature and allow you to essentially like sweat more. It'll increase blood flow essentially as well, and it can actually help stimulate fat mobilization too and help raise your heart rate as well. So like utilizing yohimbine is definitely very beneficial for the morning. And then if you utilize some caffeine with it as well, so like I like to use like black coffee, sometimes even like green tea if you're not like a black coffee kind of guy or something like that. Having some form of caffeine will actually like link it together and will actually like help speed up the process even more. So that's why I like using yohimbine. And it's so funny though. I feel like none of my clients know how to say it. So
I
they're
don't
like
even know if I say it
yohimbine.
right. Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but yeah, yohimbine. So
Yeah, yeah. And this is a natural supplement, by the way. This isn't
yeah,
any
yeah.
performance enhancing drug or anything like that. This is something you can buy from Walmart.
Mhm.
I think, at least.
Yeah, but what's your take on it? I didn't even ask you.
On fasted cardio?
Well, yeah, that, and then, Yohimbine as well. I mean, you asked me my opinion on it, so, like, I gotta ask
That's
you
fair.
yours.
I don't have enough experience with Yohimbine, right? I used it for a little bit, I just never stayed consistent with it in my last prep, and yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on it, just haven't used it, but I think it's a great tool, and, us talking on it makes me wanna give it another shot.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like a make or break it supplement. It's like if you're dialed in all across the board, it's that one thing that's going to be like, "Oh, this can help like 1 to 5%." It's nothing that's going to take you over. Definitely don't like use any supplement as a crutch for you not doing something. So if like, I'm going to take away 10 minutes of post-workout cardio and just have some Yohimbine or something like that. That'll balance each other out. No.
It's not how it works. It's not how it works. And that kind of brings me to the next myth is supplements are necessary for muscle growth. True or false? Myth or what's the opposite of a myth? Myth or
Isn't it like
true?
a bus? Wait, bus?
Mythbusters.
Yeah, truth. Yeah,
Mythbusters.
myth or truth. Yeah, truth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no.
What,
I mean,
supplements or not?
what's
Yeah.
considered a supplement? I don't know. It's like a
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah, we're just talking about supplements. We're not talking about PEDs.
okay, yeah, I was gonna
But
say.
no, yeah, like things like yohimbine, like even just like fish oil and multivitamin and creatine is a really big one. Are like personally, like I would say no, they're not necessary for muscle growth at all, right? A majority of those nutrients, those vitamins, they should be coming in through your diet, and like that's why a supplement is called a supplement because you are supplementing it on top of things that you're already putting into your body, right? Now, creatine, for example, right? I think creatine is naturally in steak, right? Red meats.
Yep, red meats, yep.
And but at the same time, the amount of red meat that you would need to intake to hit like what the recommended daily average of creatine is, it would be a ridiculous amount of like steak, I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's why supplements and things like that exist. Now, does that mean that you can't put on muscle if you don't use it? Absolutely not. It's just there to help you on top of the base that you've already built.
Mhm. Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's like 1 gram for like a whole pound of steak. So, it's a lot of steak in order to get your daily
5 pounds of
creatine in.
steak a day.
Yeah, no, can you imagine?
Yeah. It's insane. That is insane. But
Definitely not a necessity. I like what I tell all of my guys is it's a supplement. It's in the name, right? It's a supplement. So it'll help
yeah,
supplement for where you're lacking. So say like you hate fish, right? You just can't stand the smell of fish. It's like, okay, clearly you're probably going to need some fish oils in there to help kind of balance each other out, make sure that it has proper DHA, EPA levels, the whole nine, but just making sure like if you do have a supplement, make sure you're not wasting your money on a bad supplement as well. Make sure it's like third party tested, make sure it has the proper dosage in it to make sure like, you're not wasting your money also on top of that.
for sure. Definitely. It's a very big importance.
Yeah, I want to get into this next one a little bit and I'm very interested to hear about your opinion on it. So I'm
Take
going
it
to ask
away. Take
you.
it away.
All right. So the no pain, no gain one. All right. The soreness myth. Does soreness mean muscle growth?
Does it mean muscle growth? I would say yes. But do you need to have soreness to have muscle growth? No. Thoughts?
I was wondering if you're going to explain more into it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can.
No, yeah, yeah, like, I was basically gonna say, like, I guess, in greater terms, is like, does it mean a good workout? Let's put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, that's better. No, and but like at a certain point, like if you say, for example, you are Jerry, okay, and Jerry hasn't worked out or been inside of a gym for the last 4 years, and he just hired Anthony as his coach, and Anthony was like, "All right, cool, Jerry, I want you to go to the gym 5 times a week," and Jerry's like, "All right, sounds good. I want to get jacked." Jerry walks in the gym and he follows Anthony's training plan. And Jerry wakes up the next morning and he can barely move his bicep because he's so sore. But then, 6 weeks later, Jerry is following the same training plan, but he wakes up the next day after the same workout and he's not quite as sore. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are not making progress, but more so like delayed, what is it, DOMS,
Yeah,
right?
delayed
Delayed.
onset muscle
Yeah, yeah,
soreness,
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Like it reduces the more that you train, right? So 6 weeks from starting, you're not going to be as sore, obviously, as the first day that you were training. Your body just gets used to it, gets adapt to it. that doesn't mean that you're not making as much progress. That just means your body is adapting.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, yeah, right. You hit it on the money. It's like your muscle will eventually adapt. I think where people get mistaken is they chase soreness, and I get it.
Yeah.
Like it can be addicting to like, get the feeling of soreness because it's like, oh, like this was a really good workout. I clearly worked the muscle. It's like, yeah, you worked it, but also at the same time, it's not perceptive to muscle growth, right? So it's like you have to put that aside and be like, okay, did you like how was your workout? Did you improve on any of the lifts? How was your time under tension? Like how was the overall lift itself? Did you go to failure? Like how many reps in reserve did you have? Like that should be the question that you're asking yourself, not more so like, was I sore? Because I mean, I had a really good back workout today. I'm not sore at all. And I don't think I'll be sore tomorrow. So it's like, does that mean it was like I didn't gain muscle? I mean, I don't know. But that's the question you gotta ask yourself. Are you chasing soreness?
Yeah, but if your strength is up the next week and you do an extra 2 reps of lat extensions at the same
Yeah.
weight or lat extensions, lat pull downs that you did this week, then you know, right?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
weren't sore, but you put on you're stronger, right? Put on muscle.
Exactly. Yeah.
As simple as that. Don't overcomplicate it.
Money, money. And then I guess this kind of plays a role into the next one, which is like constantly switching up your exercises. How do you feel about that?
No, no. Go through blocks, right? I would say switch it up every now and then, every 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? Maybe
Mhm.
not 2 months, but I think it's important to switch it up so that you don't get fatigued or you get bored of the same plan, right? But at the same time, you need a way to track your progress, right? Now, I think a lot of people, when they walk into the gym, they walk into the gym and they have an idea of what they want to work out. I feel like a lot of people think, okay, cool, like I want to hit chest, triceps today. Tomorrow I'm going to hit back and biceps. But there's no actual plan going into that, right? And on top of that, because there's no actual plan, they're not tracking or they don't really know off the top of their head how much weight they're actually moving. And if we want to progress and we want to use like gaining strength as a metric and you want to know if you're actually getting stronger, then you need to be tracking your sets, you need to be tracking your reps, you need to be tracking how much weight you're doing. And you can't do that if you're changing the exercise every single week. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I usually do switch it up every usually 6 weeks for my guys, but not in the same sense of like always just switching out every workout or exercise rather. It's like if there's an exercise that I know is going to be super beneficial for you, I will keep it in. A lot of times I will keep the same split in and just duplicate it for another 6 weeks because we are making continual progress in it. But there's a lot of times where it's like, all right, 6 weeks has gone by. I feel like we need to focus on this now. And you made some pretty good gains in these last 6 weeks, but really like what we have to focus on is like say your legs for an example. So we're gonna make a split for that, and we're gonna do 6 weeks, and then maybe do another 6 weeks after that, and then just continuously progress from there. But every 6 weeks, I usually use it as a reevaluation tool for myself. So it's like I every 6 weeks I check back in with you for your training, and I'm like, okay, like are we still making good progress here? Do we need to switch it up? How's this kind of going? And then kind of take it from there. Do you have to really train like a pro in order to get results?
That's a hard one. I think that if you're a beginner, you don't need to. But I think if you want to be a pro and you say, I've already been on a bodybuilding stage or you want to be on a bodybuilding stage, like you need to be training with intention. Right? You need to be pushing hard, whether you're natural or enhanced. Be pushing things to, if not close to failure. If you're enhanced, definitely more emphasis on the failure side
Mhm.
because your body can take it and recover a lot faster. But no, I don't think that you need to train like imagine Jerry. Let's bring Jerry back into this, right?
Jerry, I missed him.
Jerry's Jerry's 2 weeks in now, and you put him on a pro bodybuilder split. Jerry's going to die. Jerry's not going to make it out of the gym.
Jerry's
But
gonna quit.
yeah, Jerry is gonna have a very hard time getting out of bed the next day. That we can say that at least. And that's not optimal for Jerry, Jerry just needs something simple to get him back in the consistent rhythm, just doing basic movements. But, if we're talking about pros, we we're looking at everything. We're being super analytical. We're doing drop sets. We're using intensifiers. We're tracking all of our weights and we're making sure that we're progressing every single week. We're going to failure, if not close to it, on all of our lifts. And like Jerry's not going to be able to do that. Like Jerry's just trying to get back in the gym. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, talking on that point, it's starting like if you're just getting back into the gym and starting off like running and gunning it, trying to train like a pro and eat like a pro, you're probably not gonna make it and get burnt out and quit. That's how most people quit. There's like, "Oh, New Year's resolution." It's like, I forgot what the number is, but it's like a very large portion of New Year's resolutioners quit within the first month because they just try way too hard to push towards a goal that it's like,
Yes.
this is a long-term what?
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree
Yeah.
very
It's just what
passionately.
yeah. No,
I
I
think
I
that's
mean,
what
speak on it more. Yeah, go for it, man.
I think that's what burns out a lot of people, especially if they're trying to do the whole new year, new me thing. Like, they think they need to be a new me on day 1. That's not how it works. It's a process. Like, it's a ladder. Like, you add one thing one week, and then you add one thing the next, and you just consistently just stack things on a week to week basis. You don't just throw everything at the wall on week 1 and say, "All right, I'm going to do this," even though you haven't worked out in the past 6 months. It's not that's just not realistic. As hard as you want to push yourself, as much motivation and drive as you have in that moment, there's a difference between like consistency and motivation, right? Like, you want to, and I tell all of my guys this, right? Like, I want to set things up in a way for you to be consistent, not just next week, but also like 6 months, 6 years down the line.
Yeah.
That's the real key there. And you
Yep.
can't do that if you're following some like you can't like even I had another I was on a sales call the other day with a new client and we were walking through his schedule because that's something that I do with all my guys. I talk through their schedule, try to figure out like how much time they have in their day so that I can end their routine so that I can actually like meal plan, like make their
Yeah,
meal
build it
plan.
around them. Yeah.
Yeah, build it around them, their schedule. Like, I'm not gonna make you cook eggs in the middle of the day when you're at work. So I was talking through all that with him, and I was like, "So do you have like a time that you can, like sit down? Like, do you have a lunch break at work?" And he was like, "Yeah, I do." And then we are just kind of talking about different foods that he could use. And then he was like, "Well, I mean, I also live like 5 minutes away from my work, so like I could just run home and like cook something up really quick and then like come back." And I'm like, "Right, but are you gonna be able to do that every single day?" And he was like, "Hmm." Probably not. And I was like, "Right. So I want to not give you something that you have to cook. I just want to give you something that you could throw in the microwave so that we
Mhm.
can better set you up for success and consistency. That way you don't get burnt out for having to go home and cook something or, if work's running over and something hits the fan, you can't make it home in time, then you're cooked."
Yeah, it's funny because I just had a conversation like that with one of my guys, Christian. It's the 5 Ps that I talk about. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And it's like if you're properly prepared, there's no way that you're gonna fail. But if you're like on a day-to-day basis, like, oh, I gotta like run back home, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and you're not prepared for it, you're gonna fall off so fast, just as fast as you just got on that wagon, you're gonna fall right back off it. So it's like, you have to set yourself up for success throughout the day and in the whole week, honestly. So yeah, I think that's very smart as a coach, is like digging deep into like their schedule and finding out what's gonna work for them. Because if not, it's so easy to give someone a chicken, broccoli, and rice diet, and it's so much harder sitting down with them and being like, "Hey, is this gonna work for you?" That's truly what makes a really good coach, is like building it around them. And I've had this conversation multiple times. It's like, I want this plan to fit into your life. You shouldn't have to fit into this plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly. And then kind of want to rewind just a little bit to when we were talking about training, because I think it's relevant now. But, also programming training around the clients, right? Not giving them a cookie cutter training plan, but more so listening to them and saying, like, "Hey, do you have any specific workouts or movements or exercises in mind that you just really enjoy that I can make sure that we include in that training plan?" Now, and then I think that comes down to the argument of like science-based lifting versus just lifting in general.
yeah.
Like, I would definitely argue, like, I would much rather you do a basic movement that you enjoy doing than do some fancy, super optimal science-based version that's going to give you the extra 1% stretch at the very top. Like,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you need to be like, at the end of the day, what's most important is that you enjoy your plan, enjoy the foods that you are eating, and you just enjoy the lifestyle. I think that we can both agree as coaches,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that we're trying to get our guys to, is to just like live the lifestyle, not just follow a diet for 8, 12, 16 weeks, but to live and lead like a happier, healthier lifestyle, and to not think of it as just a diet, but a lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I It's funny because I just talked to another one of my clients the other day, and we were just basically discussing how his previous coach's diet and training was. And, he said that it was a chicken, broccoli, and rice diet, like, literally no other switch ups, which is insane. And then, not only was it that, but he was in the, gym for, like, 2 hours. And he's like, "Dude, I got kids, I got a family, I got XYZ." I was like, "All right, so what we're gonna do is, like, give me 25 minutes of a really good workout, and then give me 30 minutes of a good cardio session." And then I gave him, like, Greek yogurt, of course, good old chicken, steak, salmon, a bunch of, like, really good variety, right? And weight's just starting to peel off, and it's like, if you do things in excessive, it's like, yeah, you're gonna get burnt out, you're gonna feel miserable, and honestly, you're gonna hate the plan. So it's like having your coach build it around you and your lifestyle is going to be not only beneficial for you physically, but also mentally as well, and keep you in the game for longer.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole mission.
hmm
Yeah.
For sure. Do you want to talk about that last closing myth that you wanted to talk about that you said it'd be the end all be all?
Yeah, now we can talk about that.
Yeah.
This one is gonna be kinda opening Pandora's box here, but I'll let you lead, and then I'll kinda take from there, but
Man,
quote, unquote, "Everybody is big on steroids and natty accusations." What's your take? Is
it's
everybody
funny
big on
because
steroids?
there's a lot of people in the gym that I talk to that are on steroids, and I would have never guessed it in my entire life. Like, I would have had no. Like, you woulda had to, like, literally I don't even know what you woulda had to do, but, like, you would have to actually, like, tell me beforehand, like, "Hey, XYZ's on steroids." Like, "What?" And it's steroids, in my personal opinion, is not a cheat code. It's just a way to enhance yourself to that next level. But if you're not taking care of yourself and you're just utilizing it for the stigma behind it of, "Oh, if I just take this, I'm gonna get huge." It's like, no, you still have to really take care of yourself in order to get to that next level. Like, if anything, I have huge respect for people who are on PEDs because I know the level of I don't even know, like, the level of just, like, dialed in from that is
Wild.
like yeah, I know. But, like, you have to be so dialed in to your health and wellness to get good results while on PEDs. You can't just take it and then get gains. So
No.
that's my personal take.
Yeah, and it goes right back to what we were talking about supplements earlier, right? You're taking supplements not to replace things that are already there, but to supplement things, right? For example, you're not taking supplements to do the work for you. You're not subbing your mind for in replacement of 10 minutes of cardio. Same thing with gear or PEDs, right? If you plug it in, it's not going to do the heavy lifting for you. You have to do the heavy lifting yourself, and then it will help you progress just a little bit faster, right? But I can't tell you how many times I see a post on Instagram where somebody just looks a little bit better than the average Joe. And I go to the comment section. There's always one dude that's just like, oh, yeah, steroids. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
took steroids, I'd look like that too.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't, bro, because it's not just that. You need to nail all of the basics as well. Like you need to be nailing your food, you need to be nailing your training, you need to be nailing your car. Like you still need to be checking all of the other boxes. Just because you're on gear, it doesn't mean you need to work any less harder. You don't need to work less harder than anybody else. If anything, it means you have to work harder, right? And like I was telling one of my guys today, right? Whenever I first started gear, whenever I first started testosterone, it just made me want to push that much harder. Not necessarily because it was working wonders, but because I'm literally going through the effort to put this shit in my body. I have no excuse but to I have no excuse to not train balls to the walls. I have no excuse to not lock in my diet 100%. Like like if I'm doing this, like there like if I don't want to waste this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally get it, man. And I think another thing too that I see so much in the gym community is taking away someone else's progress or the amount of effort that they put in just because they are on gear. I'm not personally on anything, but like that even pisses me off too because I know how much dedication goes into, like getting your blood checked, like actually pinning, like doing the whole like everything, right? There's so much that goes into it. It's like clearly they're dialed in. Clearly they have some level of like complete just like I don't know compliance. It's like I'm not taking away their gains or their progress just because they're on something, you know?
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. And I mean, just with anything, there are right ways to do things and there are wrong ways to do things. Like just to give you a brief rundown, right? If you are considering going down that route, you need to make sure you're doing it the right way. I would encourage you to hire a coach that knows what they're doing. That way, you're not just putting random into your body, and you're also tracking your labs, tracking your blood work, making sure that your body is staying healthy while you're doing all this, running active health phases, doing things in blocks and cycles so that you're not destroying your body. Like there's smart ways to do PEDs and there is not smart ways to do PEDs. The people that see a lot of health issues that are running gear are the people that are blasting things. They're not tracking it. They're just sticking random needles in their body. They don't have their training dialed. They don't have their nutrition dialed. They're not getting their blood work done.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Did you see that one post of this guy who he's not going to the gym, and I think he has like 4 or 5 beers a day. He doesn't really watch what he's eating, but he's taking Tren and a bunch of other PEDs. He's on TikTok. He's been doing it for weeks now, and he's made like very minimal progress, but it's like dude's probably not checking his blood. Dude's probably not like, dialed in that aspect, and it's like don't do that to yourself. Like
Yeah.
just don't, it's
And
not worth it.
it's gonna be people that do dumb shit like that that are the worst case scenario that you hear of people doing like gear, right?
They give it a bad rep, yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Like most people that use TRT are not gonna die at 50. If anything, they might actually outlive you.
Yeah, live a
But
little longer, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
especially outlive the average American.
100%. Yeah, like, dude, testosterone, I think, is so TRT, I think, is honestly such a beautiful thing. I think it's so good because I can't tell you how many stories of men who have low T, who hop on, like, it's just a small dose of TRT or something like that, just, like, very minimal, and it changes so much about them. Like, their motivation goes up, their discipline, their confidence, like, everything just goes up. And what? Just because they're pinning something means that they're a bad guy? It's like, no, it's like, he's able to play with his kids again. Like, that's beautiful. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I completely agree on that, like, it's at that point especially when we're talking about TRT, that's not blasting. There's a big difference between blasting gear and using TRT. What TRT stands for is testosterone replacement therapy, meaning if you go get your blood work done and your testosterone comes back at, like, 200, 300 low levels, right? You are just supplementing exogenistic testosterone to get those levels up back to where they should be in an optimal range. I don't see anything wrong with that. And at that point, you are not blasting, you are just improving the overall quality of your life. And like if you're past 50 and you have suboptimal like level of testosterone, if you care about your life at all, like I would say, like I would strongly encourage you to look into getting your blood work done and starting TRT because it's just going to change your overall quality of life. It's not
Yeah.
just about putting on muscle at that point. It's about, like you said, having more energy to play with your kids, having more confidence, even like libido being up a little bit more, like just
Mhm.
like overall quality of life so much better.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's almost like I played video games my whole life. It's just like upgrading your character to the next level. It's like sometimes I don't know. That's the way that I see it. Like, I can see myself in the future possibly, like, getting on it, but it's like one of those things. It's like, if it happens, it happens. I know that there's this huge stigma around TRT because it's like, yeah, your body doesn't naturally produce test anymore. So I know this isn't necessarily like a myth or anything. I know we're kind of going off on a tangent, but
Like it.
so it's not a bad thing, and being on PEDs doesn't make you a bad person. I think if anything, it's just like you just want to take it to the next level, like with PED growth or testosterone. It's like you just want to take it to the next level. Like PEDs, like bodybuilding, you want to take it to the next level, go for it, right? TRT, take it to the next level. You just want to feel better, right? That's the
Yeah.
next level, in my opinion. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that as long as you're being responsible about it,
yeah, be an
yeah,
adult, right?
I don't think that it's any more worse than going out and getting blackout drunk every weekend. Sorry, I said it, but yeah.
Drop the
Huh.
mic. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think this was a very good podcast, and definitely broke a lot of myths on this one. And I know that we have so many more to cover. So I don't know, maybe on the next podcast we can go over a few more.
Yeah, no, definitely. But if you guys aren't following us on Instagram already, make sure that you are. Next week, we're going to put a poll up on our Instagram stories and ask you guys some more questions that you want answered, and we'll jump on here and answer them. But yeah, if you're not following me, My name is Nick. My Instagram handle is at Nick McElhenney, NickMcElhinny. Sorry, I know it's a tricky one.
It's a
Ants.
tongue twister.
It is. I'm sorry.
Eventually, he'll, change it to something really cool,
Or
so
just
I know.
coach something. I don't know.
Just coach.
Just coach. Yeah,
Just
the
coach.
coach.
Yeah, mine is gonna be coach_Beretta. Coach as in coach, and then Beretta, Berretta, coach_Beretta. And, yeah,
Sure.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Hopefully, you found some of this information useful. And thank you again for staying this long, listening this long, supporting us, supporting this podcast. And yeah, we
We just
appreciate
broke
each and every one
I
of you.
I do have to say this too before we forget, 200 streams in the span of starting this in a month. We surpassed 200, which is absurd. So I honestly thought only my mom and dad would watch this podcast, but seeing as if this has helped so many people, like I can't see how many people have told me like this has been their Monday morning podcast and how many people like restate things that me and you said during these podcasts is just like it's so awesome. So I don't plan on stopping anytime soon and I love this.
Yeah, no, me too. It's crazy. I never thought, like you said, I never thought anybody besides my parents would listen to it. But for whatever reason, y'all just love hearing us yap. So we're not gonna stop yapping anytime soon.
Continue the yap sessions, but
Yes,
thanks
sir. Yes,
guys.
sir. All
Love
right.
y'all.
Thank you guys. Love you all. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.